So I've gotten to the end of the row and I've chained up to get to the next row. But as you can see, this back part is pretty big, so I'm going to start to decrease so that it can narrow out and be about the same width as the top of the ear. So on this row, I'm going to decrease once on every side, once on each side. So I'm going to decrease. I'm going to go for 3 single crochets, and then I'm going to increase. So there's 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going to I'm going to decrease. So now I'm going to decrease, and to do that, I'm going to put my hook into the next stitch, pull up a loop, and then in the one next to that, pull up another loop, so that I have 3 loops on my hook, and then crochet them all together. And now I'm going to continue until I get to 3 stitches away from the beginning of the other side, and then I'm going to decrease again. Okay, so the next stitch I'm going to decrease. I am 4 stitches away from the very end, so I'm going to pull up a loop in the next one, and then pull up a loop in the one after that, so that I have 3 loops on my hook, and then I'm going to crochet all of them together. And now I'm just going to finish the row, and then I'm going to chain up to get to the next row. And for this row, I'm going to do the same thing and decrease once on each side. This time I'm going to count 4 stitches before I decrease. So there is 1, 2, 3, and 4. And now I'm going to decrease 1 and 2. And now pull both of those together. And I'm going to do that at around the same place on the other side, about 5 stitches in from the beginning of the row. So I've gotten to the next place where my next decrease is going to be, so I'm going to pull up a loop, and pull up a loop in the next, and decrease. Now none of these decreases have to be in exactly the right spot, you just want to make sure to put 1 decrease on one side and 1 decrease on the other. I'm just going to finish up the row, and then I'm going to do that again on the next row. So I've reached the end of the row, I'm going to chain up and then turn the work around, and this time I'm going to decrease again. So I'm going to go on for 1 stitch, and then I'm going to decrease the very next one. So there's 1, and pull up another, and crochet together. And now I'm going to continue to single crochet until I get to about the same spot on the other side. So I've gotten to about the same spot on the other side, so now I'm going to decrease again. So I'm going to pull up those 2 loops in those 2 stitches and crochet them together. And now I'm going to continue until the end of the row. Now I'm going to chain up for the next row, turn the work around. Let me just check how this thing is lining up. It's about the same size as the front of the ear now. So I'm going to continue this row without decreasing, and then I'm going to decrease the row after it. So I'm just going to single crochet until I get to the other side. So I've gotten to the end of the row. I'm going to chain up and turn the work around for the next row. And now I'm going to continue to decrease for this row. So I'm going to decrease once on each side, like I have been doing for the previous rows. This time I'm going to single crochet for about 3 more stitches. 1, 2 and 3, and then on those next stitches I'm going to decrease. So pull up a loop in the next, and crochet together. And now I'm going to continue until I get to that spot on the other side so I can decrease again. So I'm about at that spot on the other side, so now I'm going to decrease again. And now I'm just going to finish this row. So for this next row, I'm going to decrease each side again. So this time I'm going to do 1 single crochet, and then I'm going to decrease the very next stitches. So I'm going to pull up a loop and pull up a loop in the next and decrease. And now I'm going to crochet until I get to the opposite side where I'm going to do the same thing. So I've reached the opposite side. I'm going to decrease again. And now I'm just going to finish the end of the row. So I'm going to chain up and turn the work around again. And I'm going to decrease on each side again. This time I'm going to go on for 2 stitches. So there's 1 and 2. And now the next ones I'm going to decrease. So 3 and 4, pull up a loop and decrease. And now I'm going to go to the opposite side and do the same thing. 1, 2, okay, and now right here I'm going to decrease. And now I'm just going to finish the row. So if you can see here, this is where the end of my row is, and here is where it lines up with the front of the ear. So it's almost finished. I'm going to finish doing 2 more rows. So the next row I'm going to chain up and turn the work around, and for this next row I'm not going to decrease at all. So I'm going to continue until I get to the other side. So I've chained up to get to the next row, and in this row I'm just going to decrease 1 time in the middle. So I'm going to go on for 1, 2, and then on the 3rd stitch and the 4th I'm going to pull up a loop and pull up a loop in the next and decrease 1 time. And then I'm going to continue the row until I get to the end. And now that I am at this point where the 2 front and back pieces are about the same length, I'm just going to chain 1 to end the row and cut off my yarn, pull that closed. And now I'm going to do the same thing that I did with the orange yarn on the bottom, but I'm going to do it with a black yarn going around the edge and joining the 2 together. So now I'm going to start on this side and take my black yarn all the way around to join the 2, the back of the ear and the front of the ear. So in order to do that, first I'm going to insert my hook into the corner of this top black piece. There we are. And then I'm going to insert my hook into that first orange stitch right there to join the 2 together. Then I'm going to pull my black loop through and leave a bit of a tail. Then I'm going to chain 1 and then chain 1 more. Then I'm going to insert my hook into that first pair of loops at the first single crochet. Then I'm going to go to the back to that first row of the black at the back of the ear. Then I'm going to pull my loop through both of those and single crochet. Oh, and also I'm going to take my tail through and single crochet. Now I'm going to continue to single crochet in this row of loops at the front of the ear, and I'm going to push my tail to the inside so that it's not in the way anymore. And I'm going to continue to single crochet around the edge of the ear. So now I've gotten to the top of the ear, to this corner here, and on the back there's this tail and this little corner. So in order to do that and to make it look good with the rest of the ear, I'm going to pull up a loop through one side of the corner and single crochet. And then I'm just going to go into the same stitch for the front of the ear as I just did, so that I have it going through the front panel on one side. And then I'm going to take my other side here, and I'm going to put my hook into that corner and pull up a loop and single crochet. And that, even though you can't see it very well with the black yarn, will hide the corner where you cut off your yarn at the back of the ear. So I'm going to continue, and now I'm going to crochet into the top of the ear area, and I have a couple of extra stitches in the middle here that I should decrease as well. So I'm going to do the same thing that I just did in that corner. I'm going to insert my hook into both layers, the front and the back, and pull up a loop and single crochet. Oh, and also take my tail through. And then I'm going to go into the same stitch in the front, but not in the back, and go to the stitch next to it in the back, so that I'm increasing in the front and just continuing in the back. And there we are. And that will increase that stitch at the tip of the ear a little bit. And now I'm going to do that again for the next stitch. So I'm going to insert my hook through the front and through the back, pull up my loop, and single crochet. Then I'm going to go into the same stitch, insert only into the front, and then in the back into the next stitch, pull up a loop, and single crochet. And at this point, I'm going to add a tiny picot so that it will have a small tip at the edge of the ear. So I'm going to chain 3. On the third chain from the hook, I'm going to insert my hook and pull up a loop, and then I'm going to slip stitch. In the very next chain, insert my hook again, pull up a loop, and slip stitch again. So now there's going to be a pretty prominent ear tip. So I'm going to continue. I'm going to insert my hook into the front, and then I'm going to insert it into the same back stitch that I just did, so that the tip of the ear is more centered. And I'm going to single crochet, and then into the next stitch I'm going to insert into both loops, pull up a loop, single crochet, and then I'm going to insert into the same loop at the front, into the next one at the back, pull up a loop, and single crochet. So now I have the ear tip done, and now the back has evened up with the front. So if you have more stitches on the front of the ear than on the back, then you can use that style of decrease to even them out. I'm going to do that one more time on this other opposite corner for the tip of the ear. So I'm going to insert my hook into the front and in the back before the corner, pull up a loop, and single crochet, and then into the same stitch that I just did, that in the front, I'm going to insert my hook, and then into the next spot in the back on the opposite side of the corner, pull up a loop, and single crochet. And now I've done the very top of the ear, and now I'm just going to continue to single crochet until I get back down to the bottom so I can connect the two. Now I've gotten to the bottom of the tip of the ear, so I'm going to go into that black corner and also into that first orange stitch. And I'm going to pull up my loop through. I'm going to single crochet. And then I'm just going to slip stitch down to that same orange stitch. And cut off my yarn. Now I just have to sew in the two black ends. But other than that, the ear is finished. I just have to make the pair, the other one, so that I can have a pair. So now that the ears are done, I've sewn them to a headband that I made using the same color, but you could sew them to anything that you like a beanie or a headband or a cowl or a hat. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you have any questions or comments, then you could get in touch with me on Facebook, Twitter, or Tumblr, or down in the comment section below. Links will be in the description. If you like this tutorial, then please hit the like button and please subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye!